Oh yeah, who is ready for the acolyte? Did it start yet?
This is for Fallout. What are you doing? That's for Star Wars?
Okay, my bad. Okay, so we're gonna do Fallout. I've got this. We ready?
No, you're still on the wrong one. This is Fallout.
This is Fallout.
No, that's Star Trek.
No, yes, but you can get a phaser spelled with an F in Fallout 2 from the crash shuttlecraft Torres with a bunch of dead red shirts. So, Fallout 2 is the silliest of all the Fallouts. Almost.
So you could get a phaser in Fallout 2.
Phaser with an F, not a PH. Legally distinct from any Paramount property.
There we go.
Anyway, forget about the weird stuff in Fallout 2. We're here to talk about a little TV show.
Fallout? Yeah, that's crazy. I was so excited to see the show. I only played Fallout 4. You, however, are like a grandmaster wizard of the Fallout canon.
I was there at the beginning. I was there in 97 on my Power Mac 8600, I think. Yes, it took me about 4 minutes to save a game towards the end and about 10 minutes to reload a game. And you reloaded a lot because those games were tough. So Fallout 4, much more fun to play.
Yeah, so we have a few things you've collected over the years.
I've hemorrhaged way too much money into all of it. I can't even, that's in 3D printed yet. This is all like store-bought stuff. That we'll talk about it more later.
Is there any favorites that pop out? I mean, you kind of like, you put the helmets on and walk around the house or something?
No, the helmets are not as much fun as some others. I do like Mr. Handy back there. He isn't charged right now.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
Here's a little classic.
Whoa.
This is a mini nuke from the Fat Man, those of you who do know. The batteries are almost dead, but we can still hear. Uh-oh. I guess they're officially dead now. But
Press the test.
this includes physical copies of every game up to Fallout 4. I don't know what you do with those. Heck, I don't even think I have a CD or DVD player for my computer anymore. But there is a piece of history for you folks.
So another funny thing about Fallout coming out is they kind of pulled a little bit of a George Lucas beyond all of this. And it seems that there's a lot of stuff. I keep getting ads over and over and over. That's like, buy Fallout mugs, buy Fallout sunglasses, buy Fallout cigarette lighters. And probably the silliest one, I am in the specialty coffee industry, but it's weird to see Fallout coffee. Like, I don't know how that relationship was there.
Have you tried the Fallout coffee?
I'm sure it's flavored coffee, and I'm sorry, I'm coffee nerd side, so I'll probably not do it. Coffee snob, yeah, that's probably the better term.
Yeah, I did notice the coffee. I did notice I have every Pip-Boy that they sold, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Fallout 76. Yes, some people will cringe when I say the 76 number. There's a new one that matches the ones from the show. The ones from the show were smaller.
Oh.
I went to pre-order it, and I can get it in April of next year. So it's going to be a while. I might just wait.
You said this one you could put your phone in?
You could back when phones were like a normal size. This was 2016. So like my iPhone 5 at that point, you could take it open, put the phone back here, and run the app. So you could literally be playing Fallout 4 and use the touchscreen of your app inside of this to fast travel, to equip weapons and armor. The music, the radio station would play out of your phone, not out of the computer. It was really, really well done.
Was it the music like just as good as we heard in the TV show?
Oh.
So like while he's walking and he's listening to like the very, very end when...
Yes, when Thaddeus has the portable radio.
Yes, and it's like a really hot rockin' record. So
there's some of that. There's some classical. I prefer me some classical as I'm wandering the wastes. I don't know. It just helps me to get my wasteland groove on. But then again, I usually want to turn it off when something's happening because sometimes you got to hear stuff like Cazadores. We don't talk about the Cazadores. No, sorry.
But we do talk about the TV show. So one of the things we were talking about this before, went over a lot of notes, way too many notes, and we're like, this is going to break up like 10 episodes. And we're like, no, we'll make it into a more realistic thing. But something that popped out that I thought would be really interesting to hear was if you could share the Fallout world. Like, where are we at in the timeline? There's been a lot of people, I've seen some videos and they're like, this happened and this happened. And it just doesn't seem to kind of fit with some of the things that we were trying to get to and some of our questions on our kind of
So a quick primer to the Fallout universe.
Yeah.
I will try to be brief. I'm probably going to fail, just so you know. Okay, the bombs dropped in October, I think, 27th? Late October of 2077. I can't remember the exact date, but it's getting on towards Halloween because Fallout 4 has a bunch of Halloween decorations still up 200 and some years later. The bombs fell on that day. At that point, resource wars have been going on around the globe for nearly 100 years. The Chinese had invaded Alaska trying to get the last vestiges of oil on the planet 10 years before, and a protracted campaign had been fought. The U.S. annexed Canada, just said, you're U.S. now. Didn't really give them a choice in the whole matter because Canada didn't want to become a target by allowing our troops to go through to reinforce Anchorage. And kind of a big mess. So that became an American protectorate. So
oil was a big one.
Oil's gone. Pretty much all the oil is gone. The OPEC nations ran dry. I forget exactly when. This is bits and pieces from a lot of different sources. There's the Fallout Bible. There's various bits and pieces. The Fallout Bible, it was written after the second game, largely a Q&A with some of the developers, some of the original folks involved in the original and the second game in the series, to give an idea. There's like references to like a vault that have one sentence, and you can look those up yourselves. We're not going to go into every single vault here. We've got, as the show gave us some stuff, some new things, some new information, some new vaults. We found out how ghouls become feral, or more importantly, maybe how they don't become feral. So many cool stuff from the show. I am so excited to talk about it. And so we saw, and the first thing we see in the show is the end of the bombs. Or, okay, tinfoil hat on. Somebody on the internet pointed this out, and I can't unsee it. When the bombs blow up in the beginning, you don't see any trails. No missiles. I mean, no, obviously, there's where the bomb's already there.
Well, and
who didn't? We never found out definitively who shot first and who actually did start the nuclear strikes.
Other than, and obviously there's going to be spoilers, so if you're watching this far, you probably know we're going to give away a lot of the stuff in the show. But for throwing out this spoiler, they're saying, we're going to drop the bombs ourselves. Yes. Or we'll nuke. I don't even think they say drop the bombs. They just said we'll set off the bombs ourselves or something. I forget how she says it.
They had the ability and the means to launch them. Did they do it? We still don't absolutely know. But, throw the evil megacorp under the bus. Yeah, it's a time-honored tradition. Probably would. They wanted to get everybody in the vaults. As short-sighted as that whole... You're capitalists, and you don't have any people to buy your product. Anyway, let's...
Well, okay, so here's one. If you had this, did they have this like before the bombs dropped, right? Like something like this is like a personal shooter.
Before the bomb dropped. The stuff they developed after that was like pipe guns. For you who played Fallout 4, they're basically a bunch of metal and wood and stuff. And the power armor, the robots, all the stuff was pre-war.
So if that's pre-war, could they have just shot one of these or shot those locally and not just like shot them, from a airplane?
Nearly the yield that we saw in the multiple strikes
from the beginning of the show.
Los Angeles. This is the Fat Man, which we see in Fallout 3 forward. I mean, it'll a good 50-foot radius. I mean, it's not. It's a nuke, but it's a little tiny little baby, little.
Okay, so those aren't doing it.
No, and just a question, and then maybe they're stealth. The Chinese are very good at stealth things. Maybe they're stealth missiles that don't leave any contrails. We don't know. We still don't know. And in the end, does it matter? Because the focus is not necessarily on the pre-war. It's on where the main storyline is. In this case, we are the most forward that any of the games have ever been. 2297, maybe. I have to double check that.
We'll put it on the screen somewhere.
Yes, right there. And getting the date on the day the bombs dropped. Also, so, yeah.
So we run into Lucy. We meet a very naive vault-controlled person who's enjoying life and very optimistic, and something happens. Obviously, they get a new person to crash their party and they don't realize it until it's too late. And this is where I have some hard questions because I don't like, and I'm just going to throw this out, I don't like Muldaver's character. I know where we end up going, where she ends up going, and she's the cold fusion good person, and we end up learning all this stuff. But episode 1, we meet her. She comes in with a bunch of bandits under disguise, and as soon as the love scene happens, she's now just kind of walking off, like she's running on. You see her walking away with somebody else. I'm like, where is she going? Why is she like? If she was there to just grab one of the overseers, which there were multiple overseers, you had Betty too.
Right.
Betty was the other one, and I don't know if she didn't know Betty wasn't an overseer. Maybe that was just the thing. She was like, I have to have Hank because he's the one that he's the one that presented when the doors opened.
Could possibly have a history, as we find out much later in the show.
Yeah, because he was familiar with her for sure. He's like, I thought, even in episode 1, he's like, I thought your name, I think I know who you are. And she's like, well, everybody knows who I am.
Correct. But she has spent some time getting to be known by all the factions.
Yeah.
Everybody literally does know who she is.
So
it leads to my theory later.
So the first question, I guess, about her is, how long was she hanging out if everybody knows her? If she was... And we talked about this a little bit. If she's not a Gould, because and she dies, like we don't think she's a Gould. So
I don't think she's a Gould.
If she's a normal human, she was aged, but she wasn't aged that much. So she would have had to have been alive for a little bit to know his wife, and then start a society, be a part of the society, leading the society.
Okay, the NCR started without her. The NCR started out of Shady Sands with Tandy, a direct result of the Fallout 1 main character who went and saved Tandy, who later, with the folks in Vault 15, created the new California Republic. This is old school lore stuff. I won't bore you too much with it. I don't believe Muldaver was necessarily around for any of that. My theory about her is very simple. She did cryosleep multiple times. Like maybe she did 20 years and then was awake for 6 months and then back and then forth and back and forth. We know of multiple vaults where cryosleep is available in both the games and now several from the television show. In the pan back in the last episode of New Vegas, we saw that the Tops Casino offers cryobeds. So we don't know how common these are. She was also wealthy, as was established by her discussions with Cooper Howard back in the day. So she may have her own little bunker with her cryobed, and she can just go, chill out for 20 years, come back and see what's going on.
But darn, she just wanted to get that cold fusion good and couldn't do it until some guy escaped with it.
Was her life's project. Oh God, what was his? What was the guy? I gotta look at the guy's name.
No.
The funniest name. His first name's actually even funnier. It's a silly, silly name. It's right out of the original Fallouts. Michael Emerson playing him, who escapes the Enclave with the tiny little MacGuffin that he had to shoot into himself. Why did he have to?
It's easier than carrying it, so you could take off his head later.
Maybe. I don't know. Don't think too hard. This is still Fallout. It's still inherently very silly.
Yeah. I mean, even his death was definitely like an NPC. I'm about to experience the next part of my side mission. Oh yeah, no, I just took some banana tasting pills that killed me. You're going to have to take my head off and go running.
He had other commitments, and he was just doing a favor for John Nolan, the showrunner, who did a little show called Person of Interest that he was in for many years. Don't know about that. I was expecting, okay, they got him a new foot, so he was going to be
in the most disgusting way.
Oh yes, this show is not for the faint of heart. The Ghoul definitely has the bloody mess perk. Every time he shoots anything, it just explodes with maximum gore, and that also gives you plus 5% to all damage rolls for the bloody mess perk. They do a lot of justice to the source material, and it's one of the reasons why I love this show so much.
So my next question is about Hank. So he ends up, they're all, the craziness happens in the vault, and
they're getting killed. The Jello cake's getting destroyed. Oh my God, not the Jello cake.
Poor Jello cake. So the father ends up rescuing his daughter. Hank rescues Lucy, and he hits this, future son-in-law in the head, knocks him over, and then drowns him in a big vat of something. What
Pickles.
was pickles?
Pickle barrel. Right? Pickle barrel, baby. Was that a joke or just, I don't know.
And then he looks at his arm, and his pit boy says, "Enter door vault breach" or something. And I'm like, but the door's already open. Why is he getting an alert?
Norm goes over and wait. Like, hey, the wheat's all dead. There's a bunch of dead people here. By the time he gets back, he can't tell anybody because the pillaging has already started. I have
maybe Muldaver or Muldavi, whatever her name is. Maybe she tripped on a sensor when she was setting up that bomb or something.
Maybe. I don't know. He needed to be out of that area right there and couldn't have just gone and locked himself in a room with his daughter. So that was why it was a little sloppy writing. or we missed something. If we did, please light us up in the comments. Is there a bit that we didn't know? Those who have better knowledge of the mechanism involving vault doors, please.
And speaking of vault doors, what kind of vault doors did they have?
Okay, I have played all of the games, including the PS2 Brotherhood of Steel, which don't. It's bad. It's bad. We didn't have a new Fallout for like 10 years. Well, okay, 7 years or something like that. I was like, it's Fallout, I'm buying it. And it was bad. And on the original Xbox, it was bad. Anyway, I did very much appreciate that the intervault doors from like 31 to 32 to 33 were like the original vault doors in Fallout 1, Fallout 2, but the main door to the actual outside was a Fallout 4/Fallout 76 with the gantry and all of that. They did justice. They do so much justice to the source material, and that's, like I just said it before, that's why I love the show. They look, all the things fit the way they were. We had a discussion before how one of the raiders in that first thing, before he comes after Chet, he does a hit of Jet. And Jet is a narcotic that restores all of your action points. It is highly addictive.
So he wasn't a Gould, like he trying to...
He was not. No, he was not. He was just probably a chem addict.
Just getting some drugs.
Oh, that may explain. I was always thinking, moving forward a little bit, sorry, sidetrack, cut it if you need to, all of the raiders that they have hidden in the old black reading room, where they have them confined in there, they're always so angry. You would think they've got 3 hots and a cot. They've got climate-controlled situations. They've got water. They've got bathrooms. They literally
withdraw
the best lives that they could ever hope.
Great food every day, including Jell-O and who knows what else they were serving.
Exactly. Maybe they're going through such withdrawal from all the chems they're on. Because most raiders are dealing in chems. They're addicted. You could go through the list of narcotics in the Fallout games. There's a lot of them.
Buff. And I forget them all.
Superjet, Med-X, Daddy-O, Psycho. I could go on.
So one of the things that they weren't true to, though, you had mentioned, and I'll let you claim this one because I definitely didn't notice. I mean, I like the cars anyways. The cars are amazing. But this particular thing behind us, this was more to the show, right?
No.
What is this one from?
This is from I ordered this from the Bethesda store. I only remember it very, very well because I picked up the frame the day COVID lockdown happened.
Oh my gosh.
Framed up. This is actually a Chrysalis Motors dealership before the bombs dropped. And there are different automotive manufacturers in the Fallout universe. Chrysalis being just one of them. We see the cars that they sell. The Flea, I forget what that is.
Wait, didn't Bud, whatever his name is, have a car similar to that?
Bud did have, he was actually had a Messerschmitt trike, which is very similar to that. It has it's a 2-seat configuration.
Yeah.
But that's what he pulled up in. The whole point is they used just old cars in the show, not the Fallout cars. They had an old F-100, not the amazing single driver picker-up. I just kind of wish that they'd done a little CG just to change the cars into something from the show. This is like my biggest nitpick from the entire show. Did it ruin it for me? No. Did it bother me that much? No, not really. It was just one of the first things you see in the show is all these great-looking old cars. But they're just old cars to us. They're not the Fallout cars. Did it kill anything? No. If you really want to hate the show, this is the beginning of your path to hating everything. So we got to see the Brotherhood of Steel, which most loved and most hated faction because Brotherhood of Steel is very different depending upon who is in charge. They are kind of jerks. I mean, in the later episode, Lucy puts it so succinctly, repeating it back to Maximus. So you use pre-war technology to seize pre-war technology and prevent anyone but yourselves from using pre-war technology. They are not trying to help. They're just hoarding the power. Now, some of them do help. Lyons in his group from Fallout 3, they were technically outcasts. The outcasts in Fallout 3 were the hardline Maxon folks who were like, we shouldn't be helping people. You shouldn't be drafting people into our group. You're trying to help people. And that's not what we do. It's just mine. Anyway, when we finally see the Brotherhood of Steel and we see an airship pull up after we get introduced to Maximus, getting one of his many hits to the nose.
Yeah, and he just doesn't seem like the smartest rock on the alley either. Like he definitely. Like, come on, man! You're a stranger,
not intelligence.
Very true. So what was the okay? They ask, oh wow, what's this doing here? And you get to see the big blimp come rolling in, which is a great moment. We get to see the T-60s come walking out.
Yes,
because you have a theory about the T-60s, which is
I have a theory about that. But first, I want to say that it took me a pausing and a close look at it. The airship is the Pridwin. For those of you who have played Fallout 4, the Pridwin is the airship in Fallout 4 that the Brotherhood of Steel uses. Unless you choose the Brotherhood of Steel, spoiler alert for Fallout 4, the Pridwin is destroyed. So, by the fact that the Pridwin is present, unless there's multiple airships and they're all called Pridwin, maybe. The Brotherhood of Steel is the canon ending for Fallout 4, as close as we can figure out here. So the Institute, bye-bye. The Railroad, bye-bye. The Minutemen, who cares?
Who knows? Yeah.
Oh, there's another settler I need you to help me out with here. As my Preston Garvey impression, yes, I know I need some help. So that was interesting. But also, we got to see my personal favorite T-60 battle armor. I love the fact this was practical. It was not... I thought they were going to fully CG the whole thing. I'm sure there were some CG elements to some of it. I noticed that first shot of all of them walking, I don't think they actually had 5 suits. So I think they kind of composited some extras in there because I thought it looked very... You can see that digital haze on stuff. But actually seeing it and watching the behind the scenes, it's largely practical. I want a set.
Well, you can't put a suit here. You can only put the helmet.
I could, yes. If I created all of this, I could get 1 foot. To then crush somebody else's foot. But now here's my theory about everybody's like, those of you who know there are multiple types of power armor out there. There's predominantly the T-45, which is referenced multiple times in the show, the T-51, which is kind of the most iconic, the T-60, which we saw, and then the XO-1, which is used mainly by the Enclave. My contention is we will only see the Brotherhood of Steel mainliners using T-60s. That way, can you grab the T-51? T-51 has that, I'm going to call it an inverted Boba Fett visor. They will probably have these, just so easy to tell difference between them. Because sometimes you got a bunch of people in metal-ish looking armor, you can't tell who's who. So my contention is, if we see outcasts, they will be wearing this. If we see the Enclave, they'll be wearing the XO-1. The T-47 will never appear because it looks too close to the T-60 and will just be confusing. One more thing to add about the Brother of Steel. Michael Christopher, who plays the Elder, I hate him. I hate every role I've ever seen him in. And he was maybe the best casting in this show because the second he opens his mouth, you know he is so full of crap. And he is going to do whatever he has to do for his own benefit. Granted, probably stunt casting on his part. I mean, it's basically the same character he was playing in Mr. Robot, which is a wonderful show. I love to hate him. I love to hate him.
I definitely loved the entire world that they built, not only from the show, but I think it's just all of that, of the, what do they call this? The something realistic, the... Retrofuturism. Like, I love retrofuturism. And... I'm a huge fan of the BioShock games, and they do kind of a similar thing in different ways, and also had a really good, fun storyline in the show. So my hope is out of all this that they'll eventually make a BioShock movie or TV series. Come on, guys, do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Rapture and Payday with various stories in Rapture.
Yeah, there's so much they can do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to digress too much on BioShock. I love BioShock. Retrofuturism. So like with the way that they filmed it, it was, especially in the beginning episode, it was very open. Like you could see the desert. You could see like where they're training at. Like everything's like big sky, big open, expansive universe. Even the way they filmed it was, I think, 17:9. So you had the black bars on the top and the bottom, so they could wide it, shooting probably 2 times anamorphic just to get you that extra edging and make it look even more expansive and beautiful. And anyways, I loved how they shot it to make it feel like it was so expansive. Even though it was like you're in the middle of a desert, it was still colorful. So like you're still, now some people argued, and I've seen some of the other people argue, and they're like, well, you can't have greenery in the future. And I'm like, well, I thought I remember seeing it in Fallout 4. Like plants weren't gone. You would go in the woods.
We've seen some of these areas in the games, and granted, but in the original games, in Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, which took place 80 years before this. I mean, obviously Philly was in a very green area. They shot the show all over the world. The desert portions were actually shot in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
A lot of places where they shot Furiosa. Sorry. Mad Max Fury Road, and I think some of the new Furiosa, which is coming out in just a couple of weeks. I'm very excited to see that. Whereas you mentioned Red Rocket, that was, I believe, in upstate New York.
Okay.
Or maybe that was Staten Island. They did both the Red Rocket and the Super Duper Mart were both shot in New York.
Yeah, I know quite a bit was in New York because LA just supposedly got a contract, and they're supposed to be like giving him a $25 million grant or something dumb to like bring the filming back to LA or whatever.
And the Brotherhood of Steel base was out west. I think it's some retired Air Force base. I read up on some of the filming locations. I don't know where Philly was, which was. Can I just say I loved Philly, the town? Well, it's not even episode 1. I mean, it didn't happen yet. But it wasn't the same as anything in Fallout, but that's where this show excels. It looks exactly like it comes from the Fallout universe there were certain elements like the jump jet or some of the weapons are straight out of the games, but it's not trying to retell the games. Okay. Person leaves the vault looking for their father. That's right out of Fallout 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, let's get too far. But it's not retelling a particular game. It's just playing in the sandbox, which I think is a huge lesson to be learned from video game adaptations. You don't have to make the movie or television show exactly mirror the game. And this I think one of the reasons it works so well.
Like Halo? No.
Well,
which we're not going to review, but you feel free to.
Different direction than the story, than the games and books did. And season 2 is better than season 1, but it's still. But then again, would anybody want to watch something set in the Halo universe that didn't involve Master Chief? I don't know. There's a lot of the least interesting parts of that show dealt with characters who were not the Master Chief.
Yeah.
The other end of it, Last of Us, very well done, very excellent. I played the game. I watched the show. It's 80% of the game. The show is. The game's way longer than the show, but there's a lot of just skulking around, hiding from clickers, goes on forever and making things. And it was exactly the same thing, so it didn't take me in a different place so much. It was not bad. I'm not saying The Last of Us is bad. I'm just
Why do you hate The Last of Us?
I don't know. So we got a comment section. I'm hating for that from the future. I'm not hating on the show, but I like
it. Was very close to the game.
Well, with some exceptions, but the major story beats, the huge character moments that were done so well in the game were also done very well in the show. But there wasn't. I don't need to be surprised, but I'm like, let's break into something new, which
Fallout definitely
you could set. The Last of Us has a very dark, bleak version of now. Essentially, you could easily tell many other stories in that universe and using the same rules and all that. They could maybe choose to do that. Fallout decided to go a different way and do that. Just use the sandbox, just use the setting. And I don't even think there's a single character in the show who appears in the games. I don't think so. I've done a pretty deep dive on that, which is almost kind of refreshing. I mean, there was plenty. I mean, just the props. I could go about all the props as Easter eggs throughout the show. But
yeah.
Anyway, I will stop.
What was your question about the ghoul being in the ground? So these three goons show up to try to get help. Like,
We
what the
do.
crap are they thinking?
And you know who one of those goons was?
What the main guy, the guy in the middle, I forget his name. He was totally recognizable, but I
Yeah.
forget what he was from.
Shrimp, gumbo, shrimp.
No,
That was Bubba. It
my
was
goodness.
Bubba from Forrest Gump from Bubba.
That's why it's really.
Yes, I could not I can't remember the actor's name right now.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of little fun cameos of just
So many
different
great
folks
cameos.
in this show. But was it Don Pedro? Is it Don Pedro or this is Dom Pedro. Dom Pedro goes and digs the ghoul up every year and cuts a little bit off of him and keeps him on an IV drip of whatever that ghoul juice is. Now this is
To keep him alive.
to the Fallout universe. We've seen ghouls. We've seen feral ghouls. We've never seen anyone. We know what happens, but we never saw anyone transfer from feral, which would have been an interesting for one of the ghoul companions, because there are multiple companions that are ghouls in the game.
Detective and four.
Right? I mean, that'd be awful to have this companion change and you'd have to kill them. Actually, that'd be kind of keeping with everything that happens there. But we
You
get
have to
see
keep
that
feeding him stuff so he doesn't change.
and there's never been a good explanation of how that change happens. So basically, we see in this show that there's got to be this serum they have to take, which some folks have said it's Radaway. Maybe it is, but they're not treating it as Radaway for the purposes of other things, so we don't know whatever the ghoul juice is, but they need that, and apparently he's got to take it every day, or else he starts coughing and then starts, my name is the ghoul, because he doesn't use his own name anymore, and they have to say their name several times before then they go full
Lose their
feral.
mind.
And yeah, so that was it. But also, I want to see the episode of who is this Don Pablo? What's going on there? Where are they? They're not in California. I think they're south of the border.
Yeah, they're in a swamp somewhere.
Yeah,
Like
I
it
don't
looked.
know. Interesting. This is another part of the world we've seen in the games. Canonically, we've seen the Los Angeles area. We've seen Boston. We've seen DC and Appalachia and a little bit of Pittsburgh and a couple other little like islandy things off the coast. We haven't seen a whole lot. Brotherhood of Steel Tactics, we kind of saw Chicago, but that's not technically a canon game. And then just the Brotherhood of Steel, the crappy console one, well, that just doesn't matter. It was awful, just terrible in every way. And had the only thing that game had is you could play as a ghoul. There was no advantage. You got no benefit. You weren't even immune to radiation, which is the whole point of being a ghoul.
That's so.
It was terrible, awful game, awful. If I said that enough to be okay. Okay, so back to point.
So Dom Pedro, you want to know what his story is? Like, how did he trap the ghoul? Why was he chopping him pieces off? Did he like do that to one of his people? Maybe
regenerate because he can't. He can't just regenerate.
Yeah. Would have gotten a nose back by now.
And gotten a finger back.
Yeah, and he would have gotten a finger. He
Yeah.
sews the finger back on himself.
Right. I don't know. I have questions. It sounds, but it's that kind of backstory that makes it kind of interesting. They don't have to answer everything,
And they shouldn't. And that to me is the brilliant writing on what they did to this universe is they opened a lot of doors and didn't close them for you. And I want that, especially if they're going to go to season 2, which we already know is coming, and that's going to be super exciting.
I don't think we'll ever get an answer
Yeah.
to who Dom Pablo is, but that's okay.
It's like knowing what the whispers are in the woods and Lost. We don't want to know. Don't tell us. Dang it, they told us.
Wait, how does that force? Is there a scientific way to measure the amount of force that you have in your
Oh,
body?
yes, young Padawan. We can find metachlor... Oh, sorry.
No, we just call it M count now. We just call it M count.
Oh, God. How to ruin a great series.
It ends on the end, or it ends on the beginning. The episode is called The End, which is kind of funny because we do see the end of life for most people on the planet. We begin and end with the ghoul, Cooper Howard. And
Oh, that's true.
by the way, Todd
He
Howard.
may have been a part of Ron Howard.
No, Todd Howard. He's been Bethesda. He was the executive, the guy, the game designer for New Vegas 3. No, not New Vegas because it was a different company did that. But I mean, he is the Bethesda guy. So I don't know if the Howard is a reference to Todd Howard, Cooper Howard. Anyway, that's not a huge leap.
Yeah.
He's actually an executive producer on the show too. So, but we begin and end. We bookcase with the ghoul, where he started, where he is now. So we kind of see that, and then we see the other two characters kind of intermixed. And then I guess we got like 1 or 2 episodes to all three of them are together and questing off, right? Because they get their party together and they move off.
Yes, they're together.
Yes. One of the many misdirects that this show sets up that I kind of appreciated, because the three of them are only together like twice. And they're kind of shooting at each other most of the time there. Question for you about, because we're just covering episode 1.
Yeah.
What did you think about dumping all 8 at once?
Some people have said, oh, it's going to be a bad season or a horrible show, because they only do that with shows that are bad.
That is true.
And clearly they either broke some rule, and maybe they thought it was bad and they didn't know how it was going to go. I don't know. But I don't know, to be honest. That was my fear, like everyone else's, because even watching Reacher, the new, I watched season 2. They would go a week, and then you'd see the next one, go a week, and you see the next one, and it makes sense for them as a series to let you kind of keep coming back and not just letting you digest everything at once. I honestly was hoping they were going to do that, because it's almost a part of the, I don't know, maybe it's silly, but I like having a reason to see the TV. Maybe that's from being a kid and turning on TV at a certain time when I was a kid to watch the morning cartoons or something. But I don't know. I didn't have any negatives against it, but
I would have, I
was nervous.
I could have chosen to watch an episode and wait a week, and watch an episode and wait a week. I would have kind of liked the time to digest. Like, I watched them twice, as we've talked about.
Me too.
I watched them all when they first came out. I think I made it came out on Wednesday later, and like by the afternoon on Friday, I'd finished episode 8. But I wasn't watching in the best way. I mean, I was just I wasn't fast forwarding through them, but I was a little distracted. Then when we did our second, and I took notes and paused consistently, I watched much more closely. And I think if it had come out on a weekly basis, I probably would have given a rewatch to each episode and really delved deep into them. But then again, I had the choice to, take it episode by episode. I did just consume it as a huge buffet style meal. I don't know. It's an interesting choice, and I'm so glad it was a good show. And when it's a lot of mediocre stuff just kind of gets dumped so that it gets a big jump in everything. And there's probably a lot of good reasons that we don't know about.
Yeah. So you were happy or not happy about it?
It just
or you
was.
didn't care?
It just was.
Yeah.
I like the week in between, but it doesn't kill me that it all came out at once.
Yeah.
Having that time to think, because I never spent a lot of time thinking about what might come next, because next was always happening, because I just watched it. And I took a break to sleep and go to work and things like that. But it ruined it? No. But I put it the other way? Maybe. But then just to get caught up, and then you let the internets do their thinking about what might be coming and predicting and right predictions, things like that.
Well, what do the British do on a lot of their TV series? Don't they have like 2 and then 2, like 2 3-hour series and then another 2 3-hour series? Isn't that like something?
They do like some of their, like Sherlock, for example.
That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah, they have like 1.5-hour long episodes or 2-hour-long episodes.
Yeah, maybe that's
like
what it was.
Movie.
Yeah.
They do like 3 or 4 of them, but their whole TV setup is totally different from ours. And I don't know. I get kind of fatigued watching some of this. That sounds terrible saying that, but like, I
gotta run more, man.
None of these episodes were over an hour, I don't believe.
I don't think.
But then none of them were so short, because with streaming, the length doesn't matter. There's still a lot of hate for some of the Star Wars content. For this episode's only 27 minutes. Yeah, there's like 6 lines of dialogue, and it's mainly action. And then, I'm gonna say a couple of not great things about the Orville season 3, which went straight to streaming. Some of those episodes were like 1 hour and 20 minutes, and they didn't need to be. Went on a little long. We got the point. Like, by the time you get to the Battle of Crate and The Last Jedi, I'm like, I love Star Wars, but I'm done. I don't care anymore. It has the best of the sequel trilogy right there. Sorry, I'm not here to hate on the sequel trilogy. So it'd be my preference, but like I said, it didn't kill it for me.
So that's episode 1.
Yeah.
It was a great kickoff for a show that we did not have any idea what was going to happen. It was definitely, I was afraid it was going to be like Doom or something. I'm like, oh God, put The Rock in there and like a weird few shaky cam shots, and this is what we're going to get for our movie. Obviously, we're past, some of the production from Dune, but it's a great show. So now we're going to jump into episode 2.